Welcome back to another episode of Franchise Nutrition and Fitness Podcast. My name is Ryan. I'm a registered dietitian.
I'm Matt. I'm a certified personal trainer and health coach.
And if you listen to the last couple of podcasts, we talked about some things that we find that are fun for us. Like a couple of weeks ago, we talked about alcohol. And last week, we talked about music when you're working out. But this week, still on the fun side of things. But a lot of times we get a lot of questions about supplements.
Absolutely. And I think this is a good point for me to point out right now. Ryan will talk a lot more on this subject. And there's a reason for that, because as a personal trainer and health coach, you'll find a lot of other personal trainers and health coaches out there that will be more than happy to give you their opinion and give you their expertise, quotes if you're not watching the video on different types of supplements. But the thing is for personal trainers and for health coaches, it's really out of our scope of practice. But it doesn't change the opinions of many guys and gals that do that. So Ryan actually does have the expertise. Not saying that I don't, but I'm not a credentialed person to tell you about supplements. So be wary when these trainers and these coaches want to, harp on all these supplements and stuff, because oftentimes they're just trying to sell you a bunch of bullshit as well. So that's my disclaimer before we delve into the subject.
Yeah, definitely. And, maybe one day in the future, there'll be a franchise nutrition and fitness supplement brand. I don't know.
And then we can totally hawk it, and then I will happily say, take this and put money in my pocket. I mean, no.
We will tell every single one of you to purchase the franchise nutrition and fitness supplements, because we would make sure that they are correctly dosed, which is kind of the thing with supplements, at least in the United States. I can't say this for other countries because I don't know as much about it, but in the United States, supplements are not regulated. So they can put whatever they want in there and say that it's in there, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in there. And my favorite example of that is maybe it's 2022 now. So maybe 6 or 7 years ago, a lot of protein supplements were advocating on their products that they had contained X grams of protein. Well, when people actually started examining those protein supplements, it turns out they were doing a thing called nitrogen spiking. So that way it made it appear as if there was more protein in it, but it didn't have complete proteins in it because they were just adding extra nitrogen to it. And so they were saying, for example, that one scoop of this protein powder contained 20 grams when in fact it only contained 14. And they were putting extra nitrogen in it to make it get up to the 20 count, because nitrogen, I know this is all science stuff, is a part of the macronutrient protein, and nitrogen is not found in carbohydrates or fat. So if you have more nitrogen, then it appears that there's more protein in there. And so that's the whole thing. A lot of supplements got sued, and they either disappeared from store shelves or they corrected it and they suddenly became more expensive because they were actually finally putting in everything in that they need.
They realized that the cost of producing what they actually say is in there. Yeah, kind of along those lines. I know you and I kind of dabbled with back in the day, if early 2000s, any sort of young man wanting to get a nice, good, muscular, athletic physique, they had all those test boosters and stuff out there, and they weren't regulated at all. And a lot of them came out that the reason that they worked is that they were essentially an oral steroid.
Yeah. I took mass tabs back.
That's the one I'm thinking of. I was trying not to name drop them.
But I don't even care. It doesn't exist anymore. It's banned. So if you find it, good luck to you. Especially now, if you found it now, it would be way expired. So I'd be really concerned about what you're putting in your body. But that ended up actually being super droll. So it was
insane to think that you're putting that in your body, not properly doing any cycle support, post-cycle therapy, because you're like, this is a legal over-the-counter test booster, quote. And then here you are.
Yeah, because it actually does rapidly increase your testosterone. But with that, the funny thing with that one, as I recall, on the package, it said to run it for 2 weeks at a time and then take it off.
Yeah, it was like a super short cycle. Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks on, 1 week off.
Yeah. Most, and I'm not saying that this is easily Googled. So this isn't something you can take to the bank or anything. But most cycles of any testosterone thing is going to be way longer than 2 weeks. So I think it's probably how they're getting away with it, because it's so short for such a long period of time. You're going to get the Initial bump of like your test would actually start probably increasing right around like day, I don't know, like 13 or 14. And then they're like, and you stop it. So like you like never like actually hit that line.
You stop it cold turkey with no post cycle stuff,
Yeah,
which is
no post
fantastic.
cycle.
Not that we're endorsing it, but again, anybody who's ever run like any sort of
Right, yeah, yeah.
ergogenic aid program knows that that's not
Yeah,
right.
you got to have something to go back off on there. But that's the whole thing. Like maybe it barely increased it. Like I don't know because I didn't have any lab work done when I took it, but maybe it barely increased it enough that your body's able to naturally deregulate it back down to the normal range. And you don't actually need it if you actually followed it as it was prescribed. So here's the thing: supplements in general are conditionally essential. I'm going to use that term a lot, but I would say that you can get everything that you need from food. How you get your food and how you map that out is kind of quintessential to you absorbing all of those things, getting all the benefits out of it. Supplements can help aid you if you are unable to get everything from your food, or if you're not sure if you got everything from your food.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of miss out on what the term actually is. It's a supplement. It's supposed to supplement your diet, not, hey, I can do this instead of. I think a lot of people are like, hey, kind of similar to I can out train a poor diet from the physical aspect. It's like I can out supplement a poor diet. I can eat whatever bullshit I want, and as long as I'm taking these supplements, and that's certainly not the case.
Yeah, it's really tricky. And like I said, there are if you look up the term conditionally essential, the reason why I like using it for supplements is that sometimes you might actually have a good use for it. But if you look up the term conditionally essential, you'll see that a lot with various vitamins and minerals, and when you're talking about conditions and things. So, for example, if you are increasing your protein, you need more vitamin B6 because it's in the pathway to absorb the protein that you're utilizing. Now, at the same time, if you are eating more protein, you're probably getting more B6 because it's in the foods that contain a lot of protein, like nuts, seeds, some meats, and that kind of thing. So you're probably going to get a little bit extra in there. Will it hurt you to take a B complex? No. B complex vitamins are a regular B complex. I'm not saying you got to take 10 of them. I'm saying one B complex is going to be fine. Things that I would consider conditionally essential that I typically take are whey protein, 100% whey protein. I think everybody could benefit from that if you need it, if you're not getting enough protein in from your food sources. A multivitamin, in which also, if you're not getting enough of those things from your food sources, that could benefit you. And a B complex, again, food sources, not. What are some things that you would consider conditionally essential in the supplement?
Yeah, those are that's a good gambit of stuff that I run as well. Like I love whey, like especially I like having protein before and after workouts. I'm sure that's something we'll discuss and I'll discuss a little bit before. But eating 20, 30 grams of protein of whole animal protein before or after my workout's not appealing. I want something that's can go in me pretty quick. And like if I'm working out at 6 a.m., I don't want to, be eating a couple of chicken breasts right before. So something that's quick absorbing. So I love my whey. Multivitamin, like you said, to make sure that, just in case I'm not getting all those vitamins. I love fish oil personally. Like find that my joints feel better, skin feels better, hair's better, all that good stuff if I'm taking a fish oil. Creatine at times, I know you've discussed that before. That's something I will often supplement with as well. So those are kind of my sort of essential, conditionally essential.
You can get as far as like the fish oil, if you ate a lot of fish, you probably wouldn't need an additional fish oil. I don't know a lot of people that eat a lot of fish. In 2022, it's the funny thing, chicken is cheaper than fish. So have that as you will. And as far as creatine, you probably could get enough in your body, but if you want your muscles like fully saturated, that would be like considered a conditionally essential thing in my mind, because it's going to be really hard to consume the quantity of meat to get all the creatine in your body easily, right? That's like just because like a volume of food that you're consuming.
Right.
And if you want like full muscle saturation of creatine, which is the most studied supplement in the history of humankind. Like I literally had professors that said, I don't want another paper on creatine. Like I'm tired of hearing about it. It's
I
like,
can remember when I was like 16, yeah, walking into a GNC, and like, hey, this is, just got into wrestling, I want to make sure I'm big and bulked up, and you see all the ads of like creatine, creatine, creatine. So having to walk in, that was the first supplement I ever bought. Was
yeah,
give me a jar of creatine and a jar of protein powder.
yeah.
And
The
I
first
feel a
thing,
lot of people are that way.
yeah, the first time I ever heard about creatine was in high school, around the time of the squat box incident that was previously mentioned
So
on
go back and listen to that podcast because that's still my favorite story Ryan's ever told me.
yeah. But just I didn't know about it. I mean, I was 14 or 15 at the time, and the internet was not as widely available as it is to people now. And I went to school, and we all had to like meet together with like the all sit down on the gym floor while the coaches talked to us about creatine, and like you don't actually need it, but you can do it if you want to, and it's not a steroid. I just remember thinking like, what's the point of this conversation? Like, weren't we supposed to be doing something else? Like, couldn't we spend more of our time like benefiting our athletic endeavors and talking about creatine? But apparently, someone out there, probably a parent, got a little angry that their child was asking about taking creatine, which, um, in this days and age, like the internet, the bro science that exists out there. So,
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And back in this during this time you're talking about, yeah, it was because I was flipping through like Muscle and Fitness and Flex and stuff, and you get all the ads with your like, and like they're claiming that's all they take, like
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're like, won the Olympia thanks to creatine. It's like,
Oh man,
really?
that would be really. I forget what what's his name? Ronnie Coleman was on another podcast, and he had mentioned, just taking the regular stuff like Trin, D-ball, just your regular stuff. And it's like, what? Like that's not regular stuff. Trimbolone and Dianabol, that's
Like
not
just
regular,
taking my health out of the equation, just thinking about my wallet. That's not the regular stuff for me.
right? Yeah, and that's like bodybuilders do not make a lot of money. Like they're not really like outside of the big ones that you actually see in the ads and stuff. Like they're not making tons of money. Like that's I think it's a misnomer that um like I forget what it was. Like I think the grand prize purse at the Arnold was like $180,000, I think, or $200,000, which I'm not saying is not a lot. Right.
But
Like I
that's
think
the absolute, that's number one overall. Like that's the
that's
grand prize. Yeah. I think coming from the world we come from with pro wrestling, like we're used to that. Like people, "Oh, I bet you make a ton of money." It's like,
I got a couple hot dogs.
that's my favorite supplement. It's a couple of hot dogs. There you go.
Couple hot dogs. Yeah, right. Yeah, like as far
So
as
I
the
get
bro
all the
science,
nitrates I need.
yeah, right. I get my month's worth of sodium inside of like two hot dogs. Right.
Figure
Yeah.
I will make sure that I have a proper electrolyte balance from my two hot dogs after a wrestling show.
It is a thing. So like, we're talking about like bro science kind of stuff. Some things that I take and that I think a lot of people might find really crazy is I get close to a gram of caffeine a day. So
Jeez. All right. So, because I was trying to count mine up today because I was having because I thought I was having a little too much. So I was probably about 4/5 of that today because I had a little bit of like I get up, I have to have my coffee, I have to, a little bit of I usually like to do a half a serving like pre-workout powder. Just again, the bro science thing is just something I've been doing for 20
you
years.
put your
Like
pre-workout powder in your coffee.
I do not. I do a protein shake in my coffee. So
Your
like
coffee cold.
yes, so I do iced coffee, a little bit of almond milk and protein powder, blend that up, and then take my pre-workout after that.
Okay.
Yeah, so like it's a it's usually about 100 milligrams of caffeine from the coffee, so that's the reason I half the pre-workout. It's like a 200 milligram one. So I've got 200 about 200 milligrams of caffeine in before my workout, and then sit down for work, and then it's like 3-4 cups of coffee. So, and then usually
Yeah.
a little bit more in the afternoon. So, yeah, probably about 800 milligrams for me. So, I guess not far off from you.
Right. Yeah. So a 6-ounce cup of coffee is considered a cup of coffee, a serving of coffee, and it has about 90 milligrams of caffeine in there. Um, I have close to 6 of those in the morning. So that's 6 times 90, that's 540. Um, and then I go to work. Benefits of working in a hospital and being a dietitian, I don't have to pay for drip coffee. Um, so I go to work and I get another cup of coffee. And around 2 o'clock, I get another 2 cups of coffee. So that's 3 more cups. So that's 3 times 9 is 270 plus the 540 gets me at right at a gram.
So like, do you feel
Seven.
like you're just doing it out of habit at this point? Or like, you're like, hey, I really do need these 1,000 milligrams of caffeine every day?
So the funny thing is, I do think I can probably do it out of a habit. It's probably like in the morning though, like the 6 cups in the morning is kind of a normal thing. And I've been doing that amount for a long time. Um, the 2 o'clock coffee, my break that I take for myself and my mental awareness and sharpness is the 2 o'clock coffee. This is the whole thing. Like uh, as much as the walk to go get said coffee is as important as the coffee that I get at the walk.
Yeah, the entire ritual of like, yeah, being able, it's self-care, like right there. Yeah. And taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally on top of the physical aspect of a little bit of caffeine. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so it's always a funny thing. Like a gram really isn't that much. Fun fact today is May 24th, 2022, when this was being recorded. I weighed 198.9 pounds this morning.
All right. So you're almost there for your beer run. There we go.
I'm
So it's tracking
almost
that
up to the beer
progress.
run. I'm getting close. Just need another 1.1 pounds and I'll be good to go. I got all the way. I got 3 more months to get it. So I'm confident I can there. Still haven't loaded creatine. So if I
Oh, so
need
there you
to
go. You're all set. So.
load up creatine, get my extra 2 pounds in of water, and I'll be boom. But the caffeine is like an overdose amount, quote unquote overdose amount, would be based off of your weight. So X, I can't remember what it is, but it's like X milligrams per kilo of body weight. And I think my overdose volume would be like 8 or 10 grams or something like that. Like
That's a lot of freaking caffeine. Yeah. Like
yeah,
you've got to be, yeah, doing your pre-workout and your energy drinks and your coffee and all that stuff. And I've seen, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the same guys I have in wrestling locker rooms. You're like, you're probably pretty close.
yeah, probably pretty close. Although some of those guys are a little bit more fluffy than I think, so they might be not as close as I think. And that's the other thing, like those like energy drinks and stuff. A lot of them don't have that much more than a cup of coffee.
Right. Like I love like some of the sugar-free ultra monsters. There's 160 milligrams and 16 ounces. Like that's, yeah, grand scheme of things is not big. Red Bull, like I remember Red Bull when we were kids and teens, like, oh my God, so much caffeine. Like the 8-ounce Red Bull's what got like 60, 70 milligrams of caffeine.
Oh yeah. Man, talking about so other supplements that like you could take that don't necessarily need. Pre-workouts is definitely one of them. That's on that list. Like you probably don't actually need it. I make the joke that my pre-workout is coffee and the blood of my enemies. That's how I can get ready to go in the morning.
So yeah, similarly for me post workouts, I do the pre workout like we discussed, and then post workout I take glutamine. Like years ago, talking about the broscience, picking up the magazines, like glutamine helps with recovery and delayed onset muscle soreness and yada yada yada. Helps yeah, immune system, all that stuff. There's been plenty of research that it's refuting it as well, but it became a habit of mine. I take it. Better safe than sorry. It's not hurting me. Probably not helping me though.
Yeah, and that's like you can take them, you don't have to take them. My favorite pre-workout of all time no longer exists. They took it off the market. It was Jack 3D. That stuff was gold. That worked out.
This stuff made you like smell colors. Yeah. Like
Yeah, like you were ready to go. And that's where the funny thing for me is like people's now say like never more than 2 scoops. I'm like, where'd that come from? Like nobody knows. That's where it came from. It came from Jack 3D. No more than 2 scoops. It was all bold, all capital letters, and like red font. I think like do not exceed 2 scoops. Like it was on the package. And unfortunately, some people did, and they died. But
Oh, yeah, you've got to be careful with stuff because I remember back in the day there was fat burners were of course all the craze too. Like I think those
oh
have kind
yeah,
of died out a little bit. I remember I took the recommended doses of a fat burner was 2 capsules. I can't remember what fat burner it was. It's since been banned now too. And I was literally 3 sets into just shoulder presses, like not doing cardio, like literally just shoulder presses. And I was like, I feel faint and dizzy, and checked my heart rate. I was at 180 beats per minute. I was like,
yeah.
yeah, we're not taking this anymore.
There was I can't remember what it is now, but it was a nitrous oxide supplement, an NO2 supplement. Can't remember the brand off the top of my head now, but it previously came in a pill form, not a powder form. And I remember it was like the first version of it that came out. So it was like really cheap. It was like, oh, I'll try it out. Why not? Let's try it out. And I took it, and then I had to like go to see the doctor. So I took the NO2 thing. I worked out and went home, showered, did whatever, got my lunch and everything. Then I went to go see the doctor. And it was like a yearly physical or something like that. Just a really simple thing. And they were like, your blood pressure is really high. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, have you taken anything? I was like, well, I took this. They're like, oh, you took this. Like the doctor was like freaked out. I was like, oh, you took it over the counter supplement. I was like, well, yeah, it's supposed to give you a better pump. Apparently it's working.
My heart's pumping overtime to get all that blood to my working muscles and my non-working muscles right now as I sit here and watch you freak out.
Yeah. My eyes are bulging. Can you not tell that I'm taking something?
Yes. My pupils are dilated. Yeah, like clearly, yeah. There's the veins are nice and meaty in my eye, so it's working.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like the DMAA supplements, like they're still, you can get some of them available now. That is like apparently, allegedly the issue with Jack 3D was that it was impure, and so now you can get DMAA that's 100% pure. So whatever. I don't buy that. I'm totally on the side that Jack 3D was probably just DMAA, and you really should be careful with the volume of that you consume, because I compared some of the supplements to like the old Jack 3D label and the new ones, and they're way underdosed versus Jack 3D. So I'm like, obviously here the supplement number is different. But yeah, I want to say that it recommended that you start with like half a scoop.
Yeah. I was like, yeah.
And that's all I needed. Like I did not need any
yeah,
more.
no, yeah. The times I took it, I was like, yeah, I'm good with half. Like, yeah, screw that. I can't imagine doing 2 scoops of that shit.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that would be so. Especially now, like I wouldn't be able to handle it now. All of the other things that I've done with my liver at this point in my life, I'm probably not gonna be able to jump in some DMAA. Maybe you never know. Like I could try it, probably work out. It's like my one of the people I work with is working on getting he's not working on getting his, but he's working his way towards a powerlifting contest in December. And he's getting ready to try and cut a little bit more from now to December. So he's got a long time to go, and he's trying to cut like 20 pounds over that span of time. So he's got like 7 months ish in there to trying to get 20 pounds down. So I was like, that's a hard line there. That's, you have to be steady on that. And he's doing some like carb cycling methods and stuff like that, which is fine. But we were talking about old school supplements and like
cocaine, like yes.
yeah. Like anything that you could probably get off the internet, but maybe not at the store. And the funny thing, a lot of like drug tested competitions and stuff, like if you took a bunch of supplements or quote unquote supplements, your prayers and your vitamins, as Hulk Hogan was taking them, and you came off of them in far enough in advance, you would be like within the testable range to be considered drug free at the time of the event. So you could manipulate all the stuff around there, do everything under the sun, and still be considered drug free at the end. So everybody's got their choices to make, and that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's to me, it's risk versus reward. Like, why are you taking these? What's the risk of it and what's the benefit of it? Like for your everyday athlete, your everyday person that's wanting to put on a little muscle mass, lose a little bit of weight, like, is that worth it? Like, is taking years off your life worth it? Obviously, us coming from the pro wrestling industry, for a lot of those guys, it was worth it, but they die really young. Like, don't know about you. I kind of want to have a quality life. So let's, like, for me, it's not worth it. So
Yeah, all those things are really different too. But we're thinking about the conditionally essential supplements that we mentioned before. So it's whey protein, multivitamin, a B complex for me. What are
yeah,
your
sticking some glutamine in there for me. Sometimes, even though I haven't done it in a while, some creatine in there for me, and fish oil.
Yeah, creatine and fish oil. I second the creatine. If you're trying to put on muscle mass, it's going to be really helpful for you to uh, be able to handle the muscle fatigue that's required to try and pack on as much muscle mass as you can. You got to want to get stronger. Gonna need a little bit more water in there. Creatine is going to help pack that out. Fish oil, like Matt said earlier, really good for joint health and your hair, skin. Also, emerging data about its helpfulness for your heart and your brain. So, don't have anything against it. There's not any. Cree oil is like the best one out there, but the other ones are also still good. So, um, with any supplement, so this is like bottom line for every supplement that's out there on the planet. I always recommend checking out nsfsport.com. NSF doesn't stand for anything anymore. Like literally, you can look that up on their website. They don't even know what it means themselves. But it's a third-party laboratory testing company. And so if there's a supplement that is on nsfsport.com, they have certified that product, what they claim is in it. So if protein powder is on that page and it says that it has 20 grams of protein, 5 grams of carb, 2 grams of fiber, I don't know why it would. But if that is the case, then NSF certifies that, yes, that label is correct. And those things that are listed that's in it is in it. There's no banned substances or banned ingredients that are in those supplements. So you're not going to test positive for a drug test, whether it's at your work, in your athletic endeavor, or your, I don't know, probation screen, which out. Like, it all depends on what you want to do. But I think it's really everything that I have to say about conditionally essential supplements. I think,
Yeah, like reach out to us. Let us know on our Facebook page and in the group. Like, what do you take? What do you suggest to people? Let's talk about it. Let's agree. Let's debate. Let us know.
yeah, what are the things that you think are conditionally essential? Stuff that you take every day that maybe some people think is a little crazy. Like I take a gram of caffeine every day. So Matt takes pre-work.
I think you're maybe a little crazy.
You might think I'm a little insane. Maybe I am insane. But either way, check us out at franchisenutritionandfitness.com. Follow us on all the social medias. You can find us on any podcast. If a friend wants to listen to us on one of their podcast things and we're not on there, let us know what it is. Hit us up at franchisenutritionandfitness.com. Maximize every bite, maximize every rep.